Welcome to Reflections. If you're into motorsport, track cars and engineering, then this is for you. Let's go back now to the year 2010, where all of our weekends revolved around karting or building vehicles. Usually Mark building vehicles while me and Gaz ate crisps.
Lots of crisps.
Pompes, if I remember.
And Mark is literally welding the seals.
I'm on the floor.
on the floor.
On the floor.
Soaking wet, welding up the seals on the mod. You cut a plate, didn't you, and welded it all
Well,
in?
Welded a plate in
It
there.
was bits of
Old
metal,
random
just,
junk metal.
Yeah, it was like a puzzle.
Yeah. What we should have done is put that, see the axle stand there? We should have put a string on that. So if we pulled it, that side skirt would just...
We're going on about it's not
Straight
connected
to the
anyway.
That's a good point. That's
Yeah.
holding the side
It's
skirt
holding-
back, isn't it?
You'll be all right, Mark. So we decided at £150 for each race, £50 each. The karting was becoming a bit expensive, and perhaps a track car was the more sensible option. We had a workshop to build it in with the packing shed, and we had 2 racetracks right on our doorstep in Brands Hatch and Liddon Hill.
Ah, what were we doing? That's the Astra, isn't it?
That was when we was doing your turbo.
Is it a
although
turbo?
that's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was your old Astra, the Mondeo, and the Triple Eights, wasn't it?
Ah, it's the old turbo. That
Is
was
the old one.
yeah. That was
Oh,
knackered.
yeah, you can see the bearing case, can't you? It's completely caked in oil.
That was knackered.
Yeah, I don't know, like that set of stairs there. I reckon you could have had a paint booth underneath that, and you could have had like a
That was
seated
that
area
was
up
going to
there.
be that was my
Well, it was 2 cold stores, wasn't it?
yeah. That was
Yeah.
my imagination in my head. One to be a drive
Yeah.
room,
MSX. I love shiny car parts.
new turbo, yeah, VXR,
Was that a standard replacement, or was it?
yeah,
Yeah.
The Astra H, the VXR one, wasn't it?
yeah. Astra HVXR bolt directly on, just an easy upgrade.
You always get those shots in, don't you?
That was when we acquired Vauxhall's parts database.
Friendly database.
Yeah, we borrowed
That's
it.
rather handy, that. So,
You've got a really annoying head. I really, really want to pull out.
Got any tweezers?
Grips.
Pair of
Don't
long nose
look
pliers.
at Mark.
Long nose
Look at
pliers.
Mark.
Where is this hair?
Look at Mark.
Yeah.
Look.
Where?
Underneath his nostril. Look, I can see.
oh, that one, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Have you seen my
comes of
eyebrows?
age, that.
Have you seen my eyebrows? I'm constantly having to tell
Grips.
you.
Get them.
Yeah, get the grips.
Oh, he's got it now. Look, it's gone. Damn.
Leave him alone.
So do you remember hunting for cars, and we looked around various garages? Do you remember what we came across? I remember a 1.6 litre Civic, which would have been perfect. There's VTEC, like perfect high rev track car. Yeah. I think you was more swaying towards an MX-5, 1.8 litre.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Only because he's a hairdresser.
And I think ultimately we decided on the Civic. Was going to go down by the Civic, and then suddenly we got the offer of
A Mondeo.
a Mondeo, which was your old.
My stepdad's.
Yeah, what used to run your sister to school in. It's, yeah. But anyway, that was fine because we grew up in the era of super touring cars, so we were used to this type of Mondeo. Not plucking that hair. We were used to this Mondeo, and that was fine. That was the dream. Unfortunately, what we started with was this.
That's right. It had the white bumpers,
Yeah.
on, didn't it?
Yeah, every Mondeo you ever see on the road. Do you remember we noticed from that point all the rear bumpers were always smashed, weren't they?
Yeah.
Held together with a
Always.
tape or whatever. You
Always.
never saw a Mondeo without a smashed
And
bumper.
that spoiler. Look at
That's
that.
it. I actually quite like that thing.
You could eat a picnic off that.
The picnic bench.
I think I did try to get in it once to try and.
And the pink cap.
That was me.
Was that you? Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it
Hold on,
wasn't pink
sit.
in that next picture. It wasn't
Exactly,
pink.
yeah.
See?
This is a bit like now. You sitting on a car chair.
Sitting on the car, yeah. Oh yeah, I had to hack the old steering wheel to bits, didn't I, to get the
Well,
mounting
bosses
plate.
cost money, didn't they?
Yeah, so
Well,
I
we
just
just
cut
thought
it
we'd
so
make
it
one.
was nice and flat, and then just mounted the new steering wheel to it, and it worked fine.
Do you remember taking the airbags out before?
Yes, all I had to do was take bolts out the back of the steering wheel to pull it off the front, but I didn't know that, so I was with a Stanley knife cutting it to bits at the front. Trying
There
to
is a
get
picture of him somewhere. I'm pretty sure.
somewhere in
there's
that,
somewhere.
somewhere in the archive. What was that centre console from? Was that the Corsa.
That was the Corsa B that we saw in the last episode that we cut the roof off of. That was the console from that,
Oh wow!
which I painted blue for Brad, didn't I? And then when we eventually put it in the Mondeo, I changed it to black. But it just seemed to fit perfectly around.
Yeah, it worked,
that section,
out very
yeah.
well. Yeah, it's Perfect
Meeted
for
it
the
off.
job.
All your Copex work.
Yeah, you got to protect the cables, especially as they're uncovered and exposed.
Oh, that was the interior once we built it up, wasn't it? Those door cards I just painted with flexible paint for the fabric sections, and then normal paint for the black sections. Stripped out all of the speaker sections and covered them with
Yeah,
carpet.
that's it.
Yeah, kind of got a little bit of weight out of them.
We made the subframes for those, didn't we, out of bits of angle iron and
Just all bolted. It wasn't even
bolted
welded,
together.
was it?
Yeah,
Just bolted
it's
together.
bolted together. Yeah,
Yeah.
surprised it works actually. Oh yeah, that was.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, when we was doing exhaust, we wanted to get rid of the cat, didn't
Yeah,
we?
we wanted
We
to
didn't
do a
have any
cat, didn't we?
pipe, but we just happened to know someone that run a car shop. And I remembered that he had cherry bombs on the shelf, which would have been the perfect size. So I quickly ran out there, grabbed one, brought it back.
I think they were cheap as well. I
welded
think
it.
cherry bombs were cheap as well.
Yeah, you welded it in. So glass pack cherry bomb. That's a bit like now. Loads of car parts turning up everywhere, isn't it?
Boxes there.
Yeah. So SPACs. They weren't coilovers, were they? They were
No,
not
they're just-
suspension, but stiffer with SPACs. Cytec power boost valve was just a little fuel regulator, wasn't it? Do you remember that going wrong one day?
Yes, it went
And,
nuts.
I don't
Yeah,
think it even made a difference whatsoever. We could have taken it off and it would have made no difference.
probably if we'd have run a lot more power out of
Yeah,
it would
yeah.
help. But probably at that power.
Well, it was
Probably
stock
didn't do a huge amount.
internals, wasn't it? Like cams. And all
But then I
that.
suppose we got better airflow in, didn't we? By doing the cold air intake, decent filter. So I suppose
Sounded like a
trying
Hoover.
to better exhaust out, obviously. So I suppose trying to get better fuel in kind of makes sense as well. It probably helped a bit.
Ooh, shiny.
So that's the front. Yeah, we did the rear brake conversion as well because they were discs,
Drums,
drums
weren't they? Yeah.
on the back, so we converted them to discs.
That's right. We went to the breaker yard, didn't we? And we hacked.
Yeah, we had to find a new rear subframe,
hacked
everything.
hack some disc brakes off a rear
Yeah.
disc one day.
Green stuff pads on the front, and did we run them on the back as well? I can't remember now.
I think all round, yeah, because
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was discs.
They were good, weren't they? Right, you used to have to get them hot, but once they were hot, they would really break.
They're black diamond discs, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? They are really good. I'd buy a
Are
set
they
of them
still
again.
manufacturing?
Yeah, in fact,
They're
they
still going?
they do them
Yeah.
for the Corsa.
Oh, okay.
When the Brembos go, I'm half tempted with a set.
Oh wow.
I thought it looked good then, even with that wing on the back.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a bad wing.
See, I liked it. See, the silver worked.
Yeah.
Not like the palette colour scheme that Darren wanted to go for.
Well, I wanted to do silver all along that door, so where that black
Yeah,
line is, I was going to do
That
silver
probably
along
would
there. I
look
just
quite good, actually.
it would have. I just never got around to doing it.
And looking at it like that without the stickers on it actually looks quite
Yeah,
civilized.
we probably ruined it really with them
Yeah.
stickers.
nah.
we
We
cartooned
made it our own.
We cartooned it. That's what we did.
Yeah, there we go. Stickers going on. Oh yeah, this was. We didn't really have much facilities in the packing shed, did we?
We had a camping stove.
Yeah.
And a kettle.
Yeah.
And some Ribena.
I do remember once opening a tin of hot dogs with a hammer and a knife or something, and yeah, we used to just cut things up and make.
We didn't have.
You didn't
cups,
use an
did
angle
we?
grinder?
But no, why we can see that? You see the isolator switch we got on the Mondeo. Do you remember the mistake we made on that?
Yeah.
You made the mistake.
The mistake I made on that.
Well-
To be fair, it's the only place we could have put it.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. How many times did we have people coming up at the traffic lights taking the key?
Well, that's the problem.
That
We
wasn't-
can take the key out, but the engine still run, but it disconnected the battery from the alternator. So the alternator was generating electricity, but it wasn't actually putting it into the battery,
But
which technically
That wasn't the real problem.
which was I'll get to that.
okay.
Which was technically destroying the alternator because the alternator's current couldn't go anywhere because it wasn't connected to the battery. But yeah, the biggest problem was when you open the bonnet with the key still in,
It would snap it
it
off.
tried to snap the key off.
Yeah, so you had to remember to take the key out before opening the bonnet,
Yeah.
and we did forget that
So
at
what I
least
sh-
once or twice.
What I should have done is I should have wired the ECU power into that switch, so when you turn the switch off, it killed the engine.
Do you remember what the development cost of the ProDrive Mondeo
It was in the millions, is what I sort of know it as, because it was Pro Drive.
and what was our budget for our Mondeo?
It wasn't great, was it? It wasn't the best.
I think $4,000.
$4,000 or something, yeah, something like that.
And that included buying the car in the first place.
But it was standard engine, standard gearbox, and just the final little mods you've already seen, and it performed well on track, didn't it?
It was good.
It was a good car. On track.
Yeah. I mean, well, do you remember when I took the BMW out after, and I couldn't beat my time in the Mondeo? Yet the BMW had 212 horsepower, and the Mondeo had about 140.
Yeah, exactly. But then, how much does the BMW weigh compared to the Mondeo?
Yeah, quite a lot
Yeah.
more. And I did eventually beat it after a bit more setting up, but yeah, it took a while.
Did you ever get a quickie slap on Brands? Did you go Brands on the Triple Eight? Or was it only Lydden Hill?
I did the Triple Eight at Brands, but I don't think I ever really timed it because it was just a sort of a last minute thing, really. But
Yeah. Was I there? Actually, was I there at Brands watching you when you went
Yeah,
round?
you was.
I was, wasn't I? I remember
because
that one,
some kid blew up his golf or something. Was it a golf? Someone who blew.
You nicked his spot. That's
I took,
right.
I took his spot. So
He's there mourning the death of his car, and you just go, "Can I have your pass, please?"
Yeah, sounds like us.
It's quite handy. I've got to put a few laps in extra.
There would have been 2 pot calipers, wouldn't there? I suppose.
One point, yeah. Single piston, one-sided single piston.
Really?
Yeah.
You used to stop fairly well, considering.
Yeah.
Well, I did help with the pads and the discs, but
Wow. Yeah, if we had the budget today and we had the know-how today and we did it today, I don't know why I'm saying today so many times, but we probably would have fitted some Willwood or something, some 4 pots.
yeah. Oh,
Or like my Brembo 4
Or
pots.
your Brembo 4 pots, yeah.
Basically, we have got it now. It's
Yeah,
just
it's on
sitting
your
out there.
Corsa, it's not on a, yeah. Oh, wow, my old house.
When you actually used to live here.
When I actually used
Before
to
you
live
deserted
there.
us.
Before I deserted you, yeah. For a better life.
What, better because it's without us.
Yes, right.
rear strut brace.
That is, yeah, just a bit of old box section.
Primitive.
Just-
You used the word primitive on the last
That's-
episode. I'm going to use it again.
Yeah, that's before I put the cross bracing in.
Yeah.
So that's an unfinished product there.
Didn't we cut up an old chair for the
Yes.
cross bracing? We found an old chair in the packing shed and went, that'll do. That's got some metal on it. And we just chopped it up.
Oh, look, we've got the primer on the top mount.
Yeah,
That's
you,
right.
You had to cut them off. Why did you have to cut them off?
I cut them off because I thought that's how you had to remove them. But all we had to do was undo the bolt underneath. See, that was the extent of my knowledge back then. It was just, I mean, I knew stuff. It was just some stuff.
It worked.
Yeah, well, after I worked it up together.
No, that's
It's a
right. There
chair.
is an old school chair.
That is, yeah.
We
that
literally
is.
made a strut
I
brace
think
out
it
of a
was to do
school
the.
chair.
I think it was to do the doors.
No, it was the. So Mark did the main beam out of a decent bit of metal, and then we did 2 cross beams to support it out of that, didn't we?
Yeah. Good
Didn't you
memories of
set
that
fire
game.
in the garage in?
Yeah, do you remember setting that garage alight?
I set
The
fire
angle
to-
grinder on the
I
wire
set-
wall.
Yeah, I set fire to that garage several times.
Yeah.
One of those times I set fire to myself, and that shirt you saw me wearing in the video earlier.
Had all
with the
burn
package,
holes in it,
had
didn't
burn
it?
holes in it, where I was. Thing is,
Yeah.
because I'm welding, I've got a welding mask on, so I don't know that I'm on fire until it starts singeing hair. God, look at my hair there. Jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah, mate, look at it now.
Look at it now, yeah. I need a haircut. Leave me alone. All they're
Oh,
saying.
Gaz is doing some bloody work.
I know.
Makes a change.
That's incredible.
I'm doing
Oh.
grinding.
Good.
Is that my old cat?
Smudge.
Smudge.
Oh,
God bless his soul.
Yeah.
We used to try and save a lot of weight in that one day. Do you remember in the front, we stripped out all the front, we left most of the dash, and there was this little piece that you used to rest your feet on.
Yes.
And one day I was looking at it, it was only plastic, but I thought that must weigh something. So I got the hacksaw out, chopped it out. I remember the next time Gaz got in, he went to put his feet down. He was like, where's my footrest?
Well, the same with you using a hole saw to drill
Ah,
bits of
look.
foam out of the dashboard.
Dan,
Yeah.
Dan and the BMW.
Yeah, I thought that foam must have weighed something.
Yeah, it did weigh something.
It came in use in the end. Do you remember when the relay for the fan packed up? Instead of replacing the relay, I just wired a switch to the fan
And put it in
and
that
then just
hole.
stuffed it in one of them holes.
So it served a purpose in the end.
Served the purpose.
When is this? Like, what year is this? We were doing this car.
2010.
Well, we bought it when we started, just before we started Fleet. So
2010. Yeah.
yeah, end of
2000
2010, 2011. So this would have been 2011ish, somewhere around there.
Wow. 12 years ago.
Okay.
12 years ago. Blimey.
Oh, yeah. Lydden Hill. I remember that day.
Oh, that little GPS tracker. I remember
I've
that.
still got that. Yeah, I don't know if it still knows of any actual satellites to work with.
How much was that?
I remember Lydden Hill very,
When
very
you
well.
went.
No, over 100, but,
Oh, okay.
but quite cheap for. I mean, like a decent GPS tracker.
I had a
So-
brown pant moment.
You slammed your foot on that brake and it just about stopped.
Oh no, it was this way. Here we go.
Oh,
Scary
yeah.
moment.
Oh yeah, we should cover that off first, shouldn't we? So I, with Gaz's sister in the car, who was what 14 at the time,
God, yeah.
something like that, and I was trail braking into the first corner, wasn't I? And I lifted off a little bit late, span the car about 80 mile an hour backwards, just missed the tyre wall, put it into first, drove out onto the track, carried on going, then remembered she was sitting next to me. I was like, "You all right?" Completely forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Super and Liam Duran. Yeah.
So Liam goes flying past him. Super driver thinks, I'll have a bit of that. But realistically, you ain't going to keep up with a World Rallycross driver, are you?
Who owns the circuit, by
Yeah,
the
who
way?
owns the circuit, so he can practice whenever he wants.
Too fast.
Nice little flames coming out of the Super. And yeah, he's tapped the gravel, span it, Gaz is on the brakes, holding on to his harnesses for dear life, and everything else just comes flying past.
That was
I
lucky.
remember
That was
standing at the
lucky.
side watching, thinking, "That's it. It's done.
it,
It's
it's
broken." And then we saw him come round and do another lap. It was like, "Oh, he's
No.
obviously got away with it."
Think about it. If we never upgraded the brakes, those standard brakes.
But do you remember the driver?
Oh, pop.
Yeah, he was disabled, if I remember. He had controls or
Oh.
something.
Yeah,
He did come and find us after the end.
yeah,
Is that the
in
Super
the
still?
wheelchair, wasn't he?
Yeah, he slowed right down.
Well, he was a disabled driver, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
it was hand controls.
He
Yeah,
was doing very well considering.
See all
think
the
he-
gravel
I-
flying out the back.
I think he puts his hand up here to say sorry, but it did come and find us in the pits later on.
He was a good lad, to be honest.
I do remember though being out in the one day and there was an old Porsche 944, and through the corners, the Porsche couldn't keep up. On the straights, it would get it. But it was quick, wasn't it? It was all right.
I did worry about that gearbox in the Mondeo on the downshifts, if I'm honest.
That's a good gearbox. Don't worry about that. It's not like a
It lasted.
it's not like a Vauxhall
I
made
did,
of chocolate.
I did wonder how long it's going to last for.
Yeah, so this was the nice thing. So once we sold the Mondeo, we sold it to someone anyway. They sold it on, and it still had our logo, our web address on the side, and people would just keep contacting us, wouldn't they, and sending us photos of it, what they'd done to it, what tracks they'd raced it on. So yeah, there we can see they've painted I don't know why, but they've done the bumpers and the side skirts black, done the wheels black, done the spoiler black.
I've
removed
removed
your name for
Removed
some
my
reason.
name.
Don't know why. Bonnet lifters, bit boy racer.
I know why they removed my name, because they're not worthy, and they knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bonnet raise, as you said. We should have done
I
that.
think that might have been Cadwell Park. or something.
Actually, if
With
we
different wheels. Black one side, silver with the other.
Well, no, that's the
the difference.
They're the
the,
original ones we had off
the
hand.
escorts ones. Yeah.
See, it's straight street cars still there. Your shopping list is on there still as
Got
well.
my shopping list for a 90s boy racer. This is a good one. Can you see the problem in that photo?
Is the door
The
open?
door's open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did get flagged for that.
Did they spray the rear spoiler?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
done it all black and
Black.
Oh yeah, and I can see the door cards. Who signed the door card? for
Tom
them?
Chilton did.
Tom Chilton. Tom Chilton was meant to take me for some tuition laps, wasn't he, at Brands?
But we
Hatch?
couldn't get you in.
And I was flying around Brands. I was quite happy, and they was trying to call me in, and no one could get me in. But anyway, he did give us some good advice, didn't he? Do you remember? He told me how to do
Take
clearways.
clearways.
Yeah, because I was braking for it, wasn't I? And then turning, and he said, "Don't brake." He said, "Just lift and
Clip
sort of
the curb.
fly through it." Yeah, just pretty much a straight line through it, then back on. And it's absolutely spot on. The only thing I would say is in the Corsa, I don't feel I can do that. I tried, and I do feel you just got to just tap the brake. Don't unsettle the car, but just tap it just to scrub a little bit of speed because you're just going too fast at that point.
Nah. Think you're doing yourself down, mate.
Don't know. So, personal track cars.
Personal track cars.
So, sort of you and me, really. Should we talk about Triple
Well,
Eight?
it was never a track car though, was it? It was just a shell
Well,
with the intention of sticking a 20 in it.
tell us where it came from, first of all.
Well, it came from Touring Car Spares, but it was
Whose was it?
original. Well, it was one of the Vauxhall racing cars, but then I don't think it was used. But it was Rob Collards who won the Independence in 2003.
And it's that one there, isn't it?
It's just it was the silver one. Chassis 7, I want to say,
Chassis.
out of the 11 that was built by Vauxhall 888 Racing.
So that idea was probably a little bit
Far-fetched.
far-fetched, I must admit. It was
But
a
it
good
looked
idea.
good. And it even looked good next to my road car.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the difference in the width, can't you?
The race car and the road car based on that.
Funny enough, the road car saw more race action than the race car.
Funnily enough, yes, it did.
So
I did love that shape Astra, to be fair.
can you tell us a bit about your? So that was 888 number 77, wasn't it?
Chassis 77 out of 100 built by 888 Racing. That no longer exists. 100 road cars were built to celebrate the success of Vauxhall winning the touring car in 2001. Out of the 26 races, Vauxhall won 25. Out of the 26, I think it was a MG beat them at Brands. I think it was a wet race that year.
And what had you had done to that car? Sorry, what had you done to your road car?
Well, I bought the road car standard, and then literally new turbo, VXR injectors, airflow, racing harnesses, boost gauge, remap.
Didn't you have one of these developed?
I did have a big AirTech cooler.
I remember you getting quite involved as well with like the groups at the time. Like you had those little stickers made up, didn't you, for the chassis numbers and everything?
Yeah, I had all the chassis numbers, plaque builds and all that lot. For the group, I still do a lot of groups because I now have another one. I'm on my third. You know what they say, once you have Vauxhall.
AirTech.
Oh yeah,
Transfer. Oh, too late.
Too
late.
Yeah, Spatfire, following Mark.
Didn't you have? I remember you had an EDS inlet manifold at one point. Did you ever fit that?
I had a EDS copy inlet manifold, yes. It did go on the car, yeah.
Okay.
EDS, AirTech cooler,
VXR
80 mil
turbo.
airflow,
Yeah.
VXR injectors.
CDTI airbox.
Yeah,
So you
delete.
didn't have to crossover.
Forge, actuator, Forge research, VXR turbo, and remapped by Sean.
Sean, wasn't it?
Yeah, just over 300 brake horsepower.
And it was a very good 300 brake. I remember being on the track in the BMW, and as soon as you got to a straight, just nothing on the track could keep near it. Just gone, wasn't it? Absolutely gone.
Yeah, it was like that.
But I do also remember driving to a track day another time.
It was driving to Lyddon. You had your to-be father-in-law in at the time.
Yeah.
I dropped a cylinder.
Yeah. Yeah, it suddenly changed from sounding like a race car to sounding like a tractor, just like that, didn't it?
No, it sounded like a Subaru. It sounded like a Volkswagen.
Yeah, it did actually, yeah. And what was weird was even though you dropped a cylinder, it still flew past. It was still going some. Yeah, it got quite serious, didn't it? So at one point there was a car show and you had, 20 888 Astras going on?
2014 Performance Vauxhall show, Santa Pod. Approximately 20 888s.
So
got in contact with the Vauxhall Heritage Museum to see if they could get what we thought was number one at the time up to the show.
So out of their museum up to this show.
Yeah. They had it all sorted, had a driver. I get a phone call, could I come and collect the car? Because there was no one available to drive it. So went up a couple of days before the show, picked the car up, drove it back, locked it in the packing shed, drove it to Performance Vauxhall show on the Sunday with myself and two others. I met all the others up there.
Yeah, that was the best thing. When we did PVS, you was driving what we thought was number one, it's actually number two. I drove your one and it had the Dunfeld one at the time. I thought I was Colin McRae. It's going on. Brilliant.
I remember when we put that turbo in for the first time and those copper nuts were so clean and shiny.
Yeah.
Didn't take long for them to change colour.
Yeah.
So I had a 1 Series M Sport Coupe. Upgraded the brakes to. Did I do black diamond discs on them? I can't remember now. I had improved discs, didn't I? Yeah, I want to say.
I think you put green pad disc. Pads,
green
pads.
I think it was black diamond discs and braided lines and high temp fluid. Do you remember the first track day when I didn't do the decent fluid? And there's just I got red flag, didn't I? And smoke bellowing out of those brakes.
I think you got black flag.
Yeah, that's it. Black flag. Sorry.
Did I get some pictures of you sitting there with smoke?
Yeah, I've got them
weird
somewhere.
arches.
Yeah. Let it cool off. Went out. It's all right. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I never really loved that Beamer. It was a lovely looking car, but I think I've gone from a Vauxhall, which was quite savage, to that, which was a bit more progressive. And before long, I was back with a Vauxhall, really, wasn't I?
As I say, once you've had Vauxhall, get rid of
Yeah.
you. Always go
Properly
back.
tuned Vauxhall, you
drove
can't
that.
beat.
I drove that BMW home from London once. It was actually quite a nice car to drive, to be honest.
Hmm.
It's probably not to drive not on track.
It was a 2 litre diesel, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's quite a heavy lump to chuck around a track, to be fair. But I mean, it handled brilliantly, and it certainly gripped. Because I mean, I remember buying it thinking, rear-wheel drive, I'm just going to be sideways everywhere in this, and you really couldn't. It just gripped too well. You had to go in so hard, so brave that yeah, it was just difficult. And if you did kick it out, it would tend to then grip and just spit you back the other way. It was yeah, a bit of a different ball game, that one. But yeah, it just wasn't. I never found it that controllable. Like, I've driven other rear-wheel drives and you could easily slide them, but that just wanted to grip too hard.
Do you think it was just because of the weight of it?
Maybe, especially you had a lot of weight at the front, like maybe that. But then you'd think, yeah, with that one on, so I don't know.
I will build my own personal track car one day.
Well, it don't matter. You rent so many Caterhams.
Yeah.
You just take them out on track.
Can't do that anymore because they're
Nah.
not down at Crawley anymore.
Yeah, unless I go to Silverstone. But I was on the website the other day, the Caterham website, and they don't even have a hire option on there anymore. I think you have to do, because it's Silverstone Lotus. So you have to contact Silverstone Lotus to rent a Caterham now.
So I suppose before we leave past track cars, going back to the 888s, how many did you own? What numbers?
I owned 3.
So number 77.
77.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on my third now.
You've,
So I had 77.
I thought you had 2.
No, don't you
77?
remember?
And then I had chassis 1.
When after he realised that
You sold it, didn't? That's right. You sold chassis 1. That's it.
I
And then-
part X chassis 1 for the one I got now.
That's it. Okay. So you've had 3.
Which I'm now, I think, which is now chassis 39. So I'm on my third.
and then
Fourth, if you include the road car, race car.
And then, of course, Lewis had always got number 1 as well.
100.
No, number 100, isn't he? The last one.
Did
to
you
roll
not
off.
did you not find out that number 1 that you picked up wasn't actually number 1? Is that
What? From the Heritage Centre? At the time, no, because everyone thought number 1 was in the Heritage. And until I got the list from 888 Racing before they dissolved, when this car came up and I matched the chassis numbers,
So what was it, like number 2 or something?
So number 2 is in the Heritage, that's as we confirmed it. Chassis 1 was in the one that I got hold of, which was in a terrible state. It needed a lot of work.
Oh right, yeah.
Oh
yeah, of
but
course, yeah.
It was cross-referenced to the chassis list I got from 888, Tony Pilcher. Everything matched up to all the VINs and stuff like that we got, and yeah, the rest was from there. It was a really early car as well. So
Do you remember, though, the one from the Heritage Centre? When you opened the bonnet, there was loads of extra...
yeah, because it was the
sensors
Millbrook,
and
the
stuff.
Millbrook testing car.
Yeah. So I got rid of the Beamer, got a Corsa VXR as a road car, gradually kind of turned it into a fast road car, I suppose you'd call it. And then more recently, and now just making it a dedicated track car, hence all of the parts sitting around us today, which we're all waiting to go into it.
Sorry, waiting for Mark to fit.
Yeah. So
next
yeah,
month,
it's
next month.
it's going quite well, isn't it? I mean, it's probably the most I've invested into a car. In the 59 seconds currently round Brands on road tyres. Now got some sticky tyres on it. Going to get a fair bit more weight out of it. So yeah, really excited to see what happens with that one.
Replace the driver.
Do you know when you're going to book your next track day? You're just going to get it so it's working,
Get it working.
and then
Get those wheel arches wider somehow, because that's going to cause me a problem. And then book something in. Yeah.
Because as soon as you
Oh,
book
look,
it,
it's all blue there.
it's very clean.
Yeah.
There, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's now half blue and white, isn't it? Because I wanted to lighten the bonnet, so a fiberglass bonnet, and thought, no, let's leave it pure track white.
I'll have to come along to the next one. I missed the last one and the one before that.
Oh, that was a good time. Get the whole family down to the track. Yeah, you can see how those ones rubbed,
Yeah, that's quite bad.
and that's on a stretch.
Like the marbles as well, build up on the side.
That's on a stretch tire.
They look like my motorcycle tyres used to look.
Yeah, they've all gone like burnt around there as well, and they got so hot.
Is that
Yeah.
brake dust actually? That might be brake dust
Oh,
actually
maybe.
build up on the edge of the tyre.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was watching the video back of your last track day, it was it was rubbing on the
Yeah.
arches.
Well, it's only paddock,
also-
wasn't it? As you drop into paddock was the only place you really had the problem. And I think that's it. I think that finishes this one off.
Hmm.
We're not at yours, so I suppose you've got anything decent to show other than what we've already shown?
Fortunately, not this time round.
No.
So
I'm too sexy for my shirt. No.
nah, sorry, no.
Too far. Too far.
No.